Well, I can tell you why it's not shifting right. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, the shop is extremely busy. All right, I got bikes everywhere. Okay, so yeah, in the last episode you saw that I went ahead and threw the front end onto this bike here. Okay, so I'm gonna go. I said I was gonna put the motor in before I did anything else, but I think I'm gonna leave that out. Put the center stand on and get all the trim on, run some cable and some wiring, and then we'll throw the motor on. That way the motor's not in the way when I'm trying to run wires and things like that. So that's the plan for this guy. But before I do that, this P200 motor is still being rebuilt over here. That's for this white P200 right here. And again, it's a European P200, so it doesn't have oil injection. Went ahead and cleaned the cases up. I changed the bushings, which are these guys here. The owner wanted them changed, so I went ahead and changed them. I think these are still good, but it's okay. So I put new bushings in it. Went ahead and threw the hub bearing on, the crank bearing on there, and over here I'm working on the transmission over here, and I figure out why it's not shifting correctly or jumping out of gear or whatever. I'll show you that later on in the video. But here's the cush drive. I'm gonna go ahead and rebuild that as well. Here's the crank, and whoever built this bike did not leave a little 1mm gap there, which is why I cannot use this tool to pull that inner race of the fly side bearing off. So now I have to do it the hard way, which is I need to Dremel out a slit here and a slit here, and then my tool will have something to grab onto to pull that inner race off. Okay, so yeah, got a lot of work. So let's get started. All right, so I have my crankshaft all taped up, piston and everything. When you're grinding on this thing, you don't want metal shavings to get into the big end bearing on the crank, and also the wrist pin bearing inside the piston. So I got it all taped up nice and neat. So now, like I said, I'm going to cut a slit right here at the bottom of this inner race, and the same thing on this side, and hopefully that will give me enough meat so this thing can grab onto the bearing to remove it. All right, so here goes nothing. Well, guys, that worked. All right, so yeah, pretty important that you leave a 1mm gap between this inner race and the actual crankshaft. That way you don't have to go and Dremel slots into it to remove it. Some people that don't have this tool actually Dremel the entire thing off. So then at that point you risk nicking the crank and all that other happy stuff. So yeah, now we're good to go. We're gonna go ahead and install the inner race, and then the crankshaft is ready to be reinstalled. All right, there you go. Inner race of the flat side bearing installed. This time I used a 1mm spacer right here, and that way in 20 years if somebody else wants to rebuild it, you can actually pull it off with a tool. All right guys, so now I'm gonna go ahead and rebuild the transmission and figure out why it's jumping out of gear. I already know why from looking at it, so I'll show you guys in a minute. But the owner has also opted to go with a shorter fourth gear, which is this guy right here. Difference between this fourth gear and this fourth gear is this is a 36 tooth, this is a 35 tooth. Okay, for those of you guys that have ridden P200s before, you know this is the fourth gear is very, very long, so this actually shortens it up a little bit and makes it a little more exciting to ride. But yeah, and also we're gonna go ahead and replace the cruciform. It's in there. So yeah, let me go ahead and show you now why it's jumping out of gear. So if you watched my gear stack video or any other P200 video or any video where I rebuild the transmission, you'll know that the rule of thumb with stacking these gears on a large frame is the higher side always faces upward except for first gear. All right, so That's first gear that just removed. This is going to be second gear. So the higher side is facing up on the second gear, which is correct. Now, this is third gear, and you'll notice the higher side is not facing up. It's facing down. All right. That is why he's having issues with shifting. Okay. So make sure you reassemble it the right way. The gears are always stacked with the higher side facing upward or outward if you're looking in the case with transmission installed into it. Okay, so here is your fourth gear. So that's stacked correctly. The higher side is facing up, but we're going to change this guy for the shorter fourth. But I'll go ahead and replace the cruciform that's in there. I can tell this is actually really worn out as well. So it's a good thing that he's doing everything at once. That way he won't have any other issues as far as riding the bike. All right, so I'm just going to rebuild this off camera real quick, and then I'll come back and show you the completed product. All right, guys, so I just redid this transmission, put a new cruciform in it, also swapped out fourth gear for a shorter one. So this guy's ready to go. Everything looks correct, so he shouldn't have any shifting problems now. So yeah, guys, when you go and rebuild your transmission, make sure you do it right. Otherwise, you're going to have issues like this guy with it not shifting correctly. So yeah, this guy's ready to go back in the case. All right, so I went ahead and rebuilt the cush drive, and then I started assembling everything. So I pretty much have the motor all back together. As I mentioned in the previous video, this does have a Malossi 210 kit on it. It says MHR on the side, but I think it's a sport kit because the piston itself has 2 rings on it. That's how you can tell. The MHR version has 1 ring. I also learned something about rings. For the Malossi kits, they're actually a trapezoid ring, so they only go on one way. In the build video for that bike over there, I put them in with the letters facing up. They felt like they're okay, but I'm gonna have to pull the cylinder off and check those rings again to make sure they're right. So keep that in mind. If you're messing with a Malossi cylinder, you need to check the rings. Like I said, they're trapezoid and they only go in one way. All right, so double check that when you go and put your rings on your piston. But anyways, back to this motor here. Like I said, this is a Malossi 210 kit. I think it's a sport, not an MHR, because again, the piston has 2 rings on it compared to the 1. Either that or it's the older kit, and I can't find any information on it. But I was checking squish on this thing. Squish is actually the clearance between the top of the piston and the top of the head. Okay, so on the sport kit, it's supposed to be 0.8 millimeters clearance. So I actually had the thickest base packer in there, and I tested it, and I was around 1.0. So I took the thickest one out and put the thinnest one in, which is the copper base packer, and I just rolled the crank over. There's a piece of solder in there. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to check the squish again and see what it is. I mean, like I said, the book calls for 0.8 millimeters. Since I'm not absolutely sure, I might go like 0.9 or even the thickest one, 1.0, because I really don't want to blow this thing up. So yeah, I'm gonna pull the head off again and check the squish, and if it's close to 1 or 0.9, I think I'm gonna keep it that way. So yeah, we'll see. All right, so with the thinnest base packer in there, I'm at 0.64, which is way too small of a squish. So I'm gonna try the middle size packer and see what I get. Like I said, I'm gonna try to keep it around 0.9 or 1 millimeter just to be safe. Like I said, all right, so yeah, let's try the middle one. All right, with the middle size packer plate, I'm at 0.52. I thought it was the middle, but I guess it's smaller. So yeah, I have the smallest one in there right now. The copper is the second smallest, and then that one right there is the thickest one. So I'm gonna go with the thickest one, which will put the squish around 0.9 to 1.0, I think is what it was. 0.99 something, or it was really close to 1.0 millimeters, which is what the squish is supposed to be, or not supposed to be that, but it'll be safe to run at that with that. So yeah, guys, make sure you read your manuals that come with these cylinder kits. I don't have a manual for this one because the motor came like the way it is, so I had to look it all up and found out some new requirements for these things. So yeah, I think I have it all figured out. Like I said, I'm gonna go with the thickest base packer, and then put it back together with that. I'm gonna again use Bond 4 on both sides to seal it properly. The head itself has an O-ring rather than a gasket, so I got a new one of those I'll be putting on as well, and after that we should be good. Okay, so I have the thickest one in there. I just tested it again. I'm at 0.90, so it's supposed to be 0.80, so this should be fine. I'm hoping. All right, because I don't have any other base packers in the kit. So, yeah, I'm going to put it all back together with some Bond 4 and let it sit overnight. And then we're going to go ahead and send it like the way it is. All right, guys, I have everything back together. I have new lock washers and washers for the head studs. The thickest base packer that comes in the kit with Bond 4 on both sides. I have a new O-ring on the cylinder head. Because this one uses an O-ring. Now, the Malossi gasket kit actually has a copper head gasket. I'm guessing if you decide to go with a 60mm crank, long stroke crank, you can use that to compensate for the extra stroke. So we didn't do that. We still have a 57mm crank in here. So all I needed to do was figure out the squish, which we just did, and it should be good to go. So next up for this guy, we're going to be upgrading the clutch to a Cosa version. I'm going to take it apart and make sure the corks are actually soaked in oil before I install it. I'll go ahead and walk you guys through how to do that because we haven't done that on this channel yet. So yeah, let's get this set up in my vise and we'll take a look. Alright guys, so I'm going to be using the standard clutch compressor for this Cosa clutch. It all works the same. I have it all rigged up in here. You crank down on this bolt here, it'll compress the springs that are in this Cosa clutch, and you take the retaining ring off. Have a look at the corks. Yeah, these look dry. So yeah, if you order one of these Cosa clutches, make sure you take it apart and soak the corks before you assemble it. All right, so you got this plate here, you got a plate there, cork, another plate, cork, and one more plate, cork. So the advantages of a Cosa clutch is you get a much better clutch feel and better performance, I guess, on top of that. So yeah, it's a little different from your factory clutch. Like I said, the clutch feel is a lot lighter with the Cosa clutch. So if you wanted a better clutch, you can upgrade to one of these. I think they're around 160 bucks, something like that. So yeah, I'm going to soak the corks in some oil and put it all back together. We can install on the bike. I went in and soaked the corks in oil for a good half an hour. So I went ahead and put it all back together. This is the retaining ring, and you should be good to go. All right, so I have the clutch installed into the engine case, onto the crank, obviously. So there is a different locking setup for a Cosa clutch. It's just a star washer and a nut. I don't have that, so I do have this setup here, which is the old school way. It's that locking washer goes on first, and then castellated nut. And then once you get it all torqued down, I think it's 40 Newton meters. You bend the little tabs on the locking washer, and it locks the nut in place. I don't see how a star washer is more secure than that, but I've done some research. People run this setup with thousands of miles on their bike, no issues, so I'm gonna do the same thing. Alright, so I have this side of the motor all put back together. I did go ahead and rebuild the clutch cover with the new O-ring and plunger, so we're good there. Okay, so I'm on this side of the motor now. I put my flash high seal on. I put the ignition CDI back on, and I also put this shifter back on, but I just noticed that this is actually not a factory shifter, it's an SIP shifter. And right now it's doing a little something funny. So I'm spinning the hub and you hear that clicking noise. I'm wondering if it had anything to do with the 3 gaskets that were on this thing compared to the single gasket I put on with that came with the rebuild kit. So I'm gonna take this off again, install these 3 gaskets that came off, and see if that noise goes away. All right, so I removed the single gasket that came with the rebuild kit, reinstalled the 3 gaskets that came off of it. Now the noise is gone. So I'm guessing the gaskets have something to do with the where it holds the shifter cross inside the transmission, and that's why it was tapping either on first or second gear when I was spinning the hub. But now that I put the 3 gaskets back in, problem's gone. So yeah, you do enough of these things, you always notice that something's not right. So I'm glad I caught that, so it's not an issue later on. Yeah, next step I'm going to do is check the ignition. I'm not sure if they had the timing set right, but on a Malossi MHR or a sport kit, timing is supposed to be 18 degrees before top dead center. All right, so let me get the stator on, and then I'll put the flywheel on, and we'll do ignition check. Stator, the wiring looks okay. Usually it's all crumbled and destroyed, but these wires are okay. But the only thing I noticed is that this vinyl sleeving is hard as a rock. So when I put it onto the case, I can barely move the wires around. I'd rather not have it like that. I don't like, you know, wires that are all pinched and kinked or whatever. So I'm gonna cut this off and then put a new one on. But unfortunately, I'm gonna have to remove these connectors and put new ones on. And again, these don't look that great either. So yeah, I'm gonna cut the connectors off, replace the vinyl sleeving, then I'll have the stator reinstalled, and then we'll put new connectors on. All right, see, I got new connectors on. One's with a vinyl sleeving as a protector. I actually put a little dab of solder on each one so they don't come off. I know it's overkill, but I'm like I've told you guys before, I'm a wiring guy, so I like to do things right to where they don't come apart. So that's how I do it. Anyways, so we have the white one goes here, red one goes here, green one goes here. There's also a green one coming from the front of the bike for the kill, which goes in this position here. So I'm not going to put all this back together all nice and neat just yet, because we're still missing one wire. Put the connectors on this side as well, new ones. Again, put some solder on there, so all that stuff is good. Now back to the stator. Someone did put a mark right here. I believe the Malossi cylinder is supposed to be 18 degrees before top dead center is when it's supposed to fire. So get all my buzzwangle stuff all set up, and then we're going to go ahead and see what it's set at with the stator on this mark here. All right, once again, I'll be using my buzzwangle tool to check timing. So first thing I'm going to do is install the piston stop up here. Okay, so it stops. I just put this thing on there temporarily, but we're going to turn the flywheel counterclockwise until it stops right there. Okay, from here you're going to lock the buzzwangle tool sort of as level as you can. Okay, buzzwangle on, zero it out. Okay, so right now it's all the way counterclockwise. We are going to rotate it clockwise all the way. Till it hits the piston stop. It's about 44, let's call it 44.2. Divide that by 2, which is 22.1. So take the piston stop off, rotate it all the way forward till it hits 22.1. That's top dead center right there. The very top of the stroke on the piston. So I'm going to mark this. So I'll just use the flywheel fin. This one right here. Yeah, this one down here, let's say. I'll put a mark right there on the case. I don't know if you can see that, but that's going to be top dead center. Okay. So 22.1, I'm going to zero the gauge. And I'm going to back up counterclockwise 18 degrees. Oof, that's a bad spot to do that. So let's do this again. I'm going to go back to 0 and make another mark. Not this one here. Probably here. This one here. Put it back to 0 first. Okay, right there. This one here, and then I'll mark it here. Again, this is top dead center. Now since it's at 0, I'm going to back it up 18 degrees. Put another mark here. So that's 18 degrees before top dead center. This mark here is top dead center. And I didn't mark the fin on the bottom here for a reference point. I'm going to erase this other one that I made. So you have TDC and then you have 18 degrees before TDC. So right now, if I flash the motor and this mark here on the flywheel matches up with this mark here, that means it is set to fire at 18 degrees before top dead center. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so just to recap, all right, I did find that this mark here, in accordance to the flywheel, see I'm having a mark on the flywheel here. So when a flywheel is on this mark, the piston is at top dead center, which is all the way at the top of the stroke before it starts coming down. And then if I counterclockwise it, match this mark here with this mark here, this is 18 degrees before top dead center. So right now, if I was to flash the motor and these two marks match up, that means the timing's set right, okay? But if it's like this or like that, then I'll have to loosen the stator, move it around until these two marks match, all right? So hopefully you guys are following me. Hopefully you guys are gonna be able to see when I flash this motor, but here goes nothing. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but the mark on the fin matches up with this mark here. So whoever did set the timing before did it right, and I'll just go ahead and send it out like that. Other thing I wanted to check is spark. I have my spark plug hooked up. It's grounded on the cylinder. Let's spin the motor and see if we get spark. Okay, got spark. Everything looks good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and torque the flywheel down, and we'll be done. 60 Newton meters. I have my flywheel holding tool right here. So, all right, that's it. All right, guys, there you have it. Another P200 motor rebuild on this channel. I know I do a lot of P200 motor rebuilds on this channel, but this one was a little different. All right, this is a Malossi 210. First time working on one of these guys. So I decided to bring you guys along for the ride. Plus, the video is not very long, so hopefully you watch the whole thing and don't get bored. But we did upgrade a couple things on this thing. We did a short fourth, a Cosa clutch, and also figured out why there was an issue with the transmission. So yeah, this guy's ready to go back in the bike. Hopefully I can get it back in there this weekend, and hopefully the owner can have it back next week with some luck. But yeah, guys, as soon as I do that, then we are back on this guy, which you guys are really here for. So yeah, everything is good with this thing. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I am going to put the center stand on, and then we'll put all the trim on. Once that's all done, we can slap the motor in there. But in the beginning of this video, I did mention that I don't know if I put the rings in right on this motor. So I'm going to be taking the head off again, the head and the cylinder actually, to check, to make sure. But I believe this is right, because if the rings were upside down, they're really hard to move on the piston. So the way I had these, they slid on the piston perfectly fine. So I'm going to double check anyway, just in case I did it wrong. But yeah, that's the plan for this guy. So yeah, guys, busy. That's gonna be it for this video. If you guys have enjoyed these videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch you all next time.